Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, Monday, August 28th. If you have not been here before, this is kind of the generic way that I go through it. Typically, there's a recap of yesterday's picks. Since I only do videos Monday through Friday, I haven't had a video since Friday, so we'll be skipping over that part for this Monday episode. We're going to go over to RotoWire to start off. Look at the weather report for today. It's a 12-game main slate in total, which is a pretty big main slate for a Monday as of late. And then we'll go over to FanDuel, talk about my core 5 picks. So it's going to be 1 pitcher, 4 hitters, a combination of past performances in their respective matchups and recent history, put that together to make up the core 5. Obviously, you don't have to play all 5 together. Obviously, if you're playing in GPPs and everything else like that, stacks are going to play a major important role there. And you're going to want to mix and match just a little bit in general as well. And then last but not least, we'll go over to my cheat sheet, talk about the top GPP teams that I do have to stack for today in that as well. If you're interested in more in-depth notes, be sure to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/CoachCraigSport. Small monthly donation over there. You get additional notes Monday through Friday in terms of notable hitter versus pitcher matchups. Pitchers, whether I would consider them an avoid, in play, or kind of a risky play just in general in between there based on their histories in their respective matchups, and some additional stacks that did not fit in the cheat sheet as well. Just kind of depending on the day if there are additional ones to be had. But without further ado, we'll get started with a weather report for today. So nothing too crazy at this point in time. We are looking at the first game here in Baltimore with the Orioles and the White Sox. We got 32% chance of rain there. Kind of talked about this a little bit throughout the season, though. Baltimore does have a really good crew, so typically don't get postponed there either way, even if it is a small delay. Then we're going to just keep moving down. We'll just highlight the ones that at least have double-digit chances at this point in time. So over New York with the Mets and the Rangers, 10% chance there. Nothing major at this point in time. For Minnesota with the Twins and the Cleveland Guardians, 18% chance. Nothing too worried about at this point, though, as well. And then really the only other weather spot that we have for today is going to be out in Colorado. 48% chance of rain with the Rockies and the Braves. Obviously, Colorado is one of those weather spots that can change very much throughout the day. So it will be one that we keep monitoring. If anything does majorly change, at least weather-wise, we'll leave it down in the comments below. We'll also get as many starting lineups down there as well throughout the afternoon and the early evening, so you guys are best informed. So definitely be sure to look at that as we do get closer to lock. But without further ado, we're going to stop sharing the screen. We're going to get over to FanDuel and talk about the core 5 picks that I do have for today's slate. So once again, it is a 12-game main slate, which is, like I said, a pretty big one for Monday in general. At pitcher, I'm going with Blake Snell. He's $10,200. Pretty reasonable price tag for him overall, averaging about 37 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the St. Louis Cardinals today. He's got pretty good history versus them in the past. Not a long list of history, but he did have a start last year with 70 points against them, and then his other one was 34 points. So has not pitched against them in 2023. But like I said, with Blake Snell, 273 average, 10 home runs, a guy that is a viable Cy Young candidate this season. So going to be a high upside play, probably going to be relatively popular once again, but he's been pretty good as of late. You know, as long as he can keep those walks in check. I know he gave up a couple extra hits early on in his most recent start. Unfortunately, did not get the win in that start, but he's been really good this season, and that good history versus St. Louis in the past. Excuse me there. Felt that cough coming on for a little while there. And then we're going to move down to our hitters. So we're going to go to first base today with Garrett Cooper as kind of a pay down option. Not a guy that we've probably even mentioned at all this season, to be honest, but averaging about 8 fantasy points per game. He's $2,400. He is 5 for 8 with 1 home run versus Adam Wainwright in his career. Adam Wainwright's really struggled so far this season. So it's a pretty good matchup. We're running against some of these San Diego hitters just in general. He's one of those guys that does have really good history. He's got a 261 average, 14 home runs, 48 RBIs on the season. So, you know, for a role player, a decent little season to be had there. And in his most recent games, he's got a 5-game hitting streak, and 3 of those games have been multi-hit games. Hasn't been hitting for a lot of power as of late, but hopefully that changes today. And, you know, like I said, it's a good matchup versus Adam Wainwright. Do like that history that's there. He's been doing pretty well as of late. In terms of kind of a pay down option, looks like a pretty solid one today. And the Padres are going to be a good team to stack. So he's kind of a cheap way to get on them today as well. Then we're going to move over to second base. You can also play him at shortstop. It's Bryce Terang at $2,300, averaging just under 7 fantasy points per game on the season. batting average isn't what we like it to be on the season for him, especially for a guy that had pretty good contact in the minors. But we'll see this a lot with some prospects. They'll kind of have that down year in terms of average, and then they'll kind of bounce back in future years as well. 224 average, 6 home runs, 29 RBIs. He is 2 for 2 versus Wade Miley, versus Jameson Taillon. I was thinking of the other side of the matchup, but he's 2 for 2 versus Jameson Taillon today, who is the starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. That obviously came earlier this season since Bryce Terang is a rookie. Not too much else to really be said here, but he does have at least one hit in 5 out of his last 6 games. Looks like a pretty solid paydown option. The guy that can, he's got the 6 home runs, so he's got a little bit of pop, not too much, but he is always the guy that can steal base as well. So if we can get a multi-game out of him, a stolen base at $2,300, that is something that can very much put our lineup over the top today. Then we're going to keep moving down. So we have Julio Rodriguez here. He's all the way up to $4,700 at this point in time. So for Oakland today, last night it looked like Adrian Martinez might be the starting pitcher. Today, looks like maybe Kyle Muller. It just kind of depends on what ultimately ends up happening for them. Either way, I like Julio Rodriguez. 3 for 4 with 1 home run versus Martinez. He's 2 for 3 versus Kyle Muller. He's got a 13-game hitting streak, 12-game hitting streak. I can't read my notes here at this point in time. 12-game hitting streak. 7 of those games have been multi-hit games. There's been some 4-hit games, a 5-hit game in there. So really hot as of late. Guy that was on the thumbnail for today, last time we put him up there was last week. Unfortunately, dealt with an illness in that game. But as of late, he's been one of the best hitters in all of baseball. Pretty favorable matchup against whatever pitcher ultimately ends up starting for Oakland today. And then last but not least, kind of got a sleeper here in Seiya Suzuki. He's 2 for 3 versus Wade Miley in his career. He's on a 10-game hitting streak, and 6 of those games have been multi-hit games. So some really good recent history for him. Only $2,800 though, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game. 270 average, 13 home runs, 48 RBIs on the season. So it's going to be pretty productive matchup for him probably once again. And with that recent success, that's really going to put him over the top. And who knows if he's going to draw a lot of ownership today. But at $2,800, I'm willing to take that chance more times than not. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the core 5 picks for today. A lot of guys that were paying down for today. So you'll have $26,600 remaining, and then just under $3,200 per player. Obviously, with paying up with Blake Snell and Julio Rodriguez, that eats up a lot of salary. But with the other pay down options that we do have available today, also creates a little bit of salary at the same time. So whether you want to pay up for another player and pay down in a couple other spots, that's a viable option. Or if you want to take a little bit more balance build from there, like I said in the beginning, stacks play a big role, especially in GPPs. If you don't want to play all 5 of these guys together, definitely does make some sense. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing that screen. We'll go over to the YouTube community tab, talk about my cheat sheet and the top GPP teams to stack for today. Once again, if you are not familiar, the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on the YouTube community tab. It's up on Facebook. It's up on Twitter. So definitely be sure to check it out, any of those places. And then, like I said, if you're interested in more in-depth notes, be sure to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/CoachCraigSports for all those in-depth notes Monday through Friday. But with that being said, the top GPP stacks that I do have for today, we got San Diego Padres going against Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright has not pitched well whatsoever this season, and the Padres actually do have pretty good history versus him in the past. So whether you want to play Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Ha-Sung Kim has done pretty well versus him in the past and pretty well lately. Garrett Cooper obviously is in the core picks. Those are 4 names to at least highlight for that team. If you want to mix and match some other guys in there, makes a little bit of sense as well. And then we have the Seattle Mariners. They're going against either Adrian Martinez, Kyle Muller, or someone else that's probably not going to be that great. So either way, Mariners look pretty good today. If it is Adrian Martinez, a lot of their hitters have hit him really well, whether it's Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, Ty France, somebody else in there that I'm forgetting at this point in time. If it is Kyle Muller, a little less history there, but either way, it's going to look pretty good. And then we have the Atlanta Braves. Not a long list of history versus Austin Gomber. Travis d'Arnaud is the one that actually sticks out quite a bit if he ultimately ends up getting to start. 3 for 3 with 2 home runs versus him. So could be a sneaky play there if he ultimately gets to start. A little bit of an increased price tag for a lot of these Braves hitters since they are playing at Coors Field today. And then last but not least, we have the Texas Rangers going against Tyler McGill. Not really too afraid of McGill at this point in time, like that Rangers lineup. And at the same time, they don't really have much history versus him. So could be a pretty interesting day for them as well. A lot of different teams that are out there that are looking like pretty viable stacks. So get a little bit creative as you're building out your lineup, especially if you're building multiple lineups out today. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time in terms of core picks, in terms of the weather report and the top GPP stacks for today overall. Definitely be sure to let me know your favorite play for today. Very interested in that, whether it's someone from my core five picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player. Good chances that it could be today with the 12-game main slate. And then at the same time, also be looking out for that weather report, the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the day. If anything majorly changes with like the core picks or anything else like that, one of the players doesn't ultimately end up starting, we'll leave that as a pin comment as well. If you have any other additional MLB DFS questions, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now it's mainly MLB DFS Monday through Friday. We got some CFL DFS going up typically on Wednesdays, but NFL is right around the corner. So we'll be doing some DFS content for that as the regular season moves along. So definitely be sure to look out for that if that's something you're into as well. But with that being said, that's all that I have at this point in time. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're tuning in live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.